Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Bret back with Angel Road, the podcast, episode 3. My intentions were to have a guest this evening, and that gentleman, my brother, Uncle Adam, is under the weather. And so I decided to change gears midstream and do an episode on my gear. It will be just me this evening. I will do my best to keep it efficient. My plan is to go from top to bottom, from property to how I hang my mounts, all the way through as much as I can possibly do, but also not belabor the topic because everybody does gear talk, and who the hell am I? I'm just Bret. But anyway, thanks again for everybody that has been listening and sharing and commenting to me and communicating about the podcast. I am enjoying it. Let it be known, I feel my sinuses getting a little clogged up, but I also have that issue spring and fall when the weather changes dramatically from day to day to day to day to day. So that could be all it is, but there's a chance that I'm going to sound really stuffed up next week. It'll be my turn to have the cold again. But anyway, getting into gear talk, a lot of people say to me, Bret, how can you possibly be so handsome and also kill big bucks? Bret, how can you be so debonair and be such a good hunter? Bret, what is it about being an absolute beefcake and still being able to be a mobile hunter and be efficient and effective in the woods? And I say to them, it's all about the gear, baby. That's not true. The people do say that. That's not an exaggeration. But I've never told anybody it's the gear because I don't believe that. I don't buy into the hype. I feel like you should do your research, and I feel like you should figure out exactly what it is that you're hoping to get out of a hunting scenario or a hunting season or an adventure, and purchase the absolute best that you can afford. And if that's top of the line, then it's top of the line. If it's bottom of the line, it's bottom of the line. There is literally something for everybody at every single possible price point, but it's figuring out how to not go into debt to do this because you don't have to, and also setting yourself up for success when you go afield. And I will start this discussion on gear, and I know it's a little bit outside the parameters of gear, but property. Now, where do I hunt? I personally have been hunting private property. I started hunting state property up in Crawford County, the St. Helen area. Never had any luck. But I currently hunt private property in southeast ag country in Michigan, and I also have private property here by my house in Clarkston. And I have also hunted state land here by my house in Holly State Park. I have also, last year, the 2022 season, I hunted state land in northern Illinois and was right place, right time, and shot a nice buck. And I also drew a Kansas tag last year and hunted exclusively WEHA, or public-private land in Unit 7. And although I wasn't successful, I did find that the options were good. I just didn't do the right stuff. And so I did not scout properly. It never even crossed my mind how bad the drought was there and that I should be more focused on finding water. I think that was my biggest problem, is that I was focused on finding food in Kansas, and I should have been focused on finding water because it took me forever to find deer. But here at Holly State, I've literally seen tracks everywhere. I've hunted several times, and not one time have I ever, not once, seen a damn deer while I was hunting at Holly State. Now, I know people shoot deer out there, but I've seen great sign. I just never actually seen a deer on the hoof while I hunted out there. I've also never really put in the time. So, Clarkston, the property, the private piece just north of me, is about 75, 80 acres of mostly autumn olives and no real food source. There's good bedding and there's good water, but everybody around baits. And so if I don't catch them passing through, I don't catch them. I've lucked out here and shot a couple nice bucks, but it's not. I need to focus this year on pruning the existing apple trees so that they produce a good apple crop this year, and focus on enhancing my food plot, which I've already bought seeds for, ordered seeds for, and I just haven't received them yet. The property down in Southeast Michigan is ag country, so we're surrounded by, there's 80 acres to the south, which is a private residence and a mix of rotating corn beans and a little bit of standing timber with some water. The property to the north is no residence, half timber, hardwoods, half, not even half, maybe it's 2/3 timber, 1/3 rotating corn beans. And then our property was historically half CRP, half standing hardwoods. And in the 2022 season, it became no longer CRP. It was turned into a bean field. So this year, I'm thinking it'll be corn. I've never hunted a property with corn on it before, so I'm going to have to really learn what the hell's going on out there and how to hunt it, and where to maybe put some stands along those hard transitions there. But we'll see. Moving into the next topic for me, trail cameras. What am I using? I am using SpyPoint Link Micros. Those were the first cellular trail cameras I ever bought. And after they came out, they had a ton of problems. SpyPoint always made good on the warranty, replaced them, and I haven't had any issues in a really long time. So as long as you update the firmware regularly, which is a pain, you do have to do that at home, and then swap the micro SD cards out. I don't mind them; they're fine. I also use Moultrie, so I have probably 7 Moultrie cellular trail cameras out there. I also have 2 Tacticam Reveal cellular trail cameras that we use, and I have a couple of Tasco Soaker cameras that are just SD cams that I haven't really used historically, but plan to use in certain spots this year. I also have a hodgepodge mix of like muddy and stealth cams, which don't, in my opinion, do not provide the best photos. And so, in fact, hell, I think one of them, they even stopped updating the firmware for it. So those are going to be my leave on public land cameras, and whatever happens to them. I just buy some really nice lithium batteries, adjust the settings to send 1 time a day, and put them up and hope nobody fucks with them. So that's kind of where I'm at with trail cameras. I would say to you, my friends, Moultrie has consistently been I should back up. I think Tacticams are the best photos. The cameras themselves are pretty big, but Moultrie I've had the longest. I have the least amount of issues with. I just haven't had Tacticam long enough to know if I'm going to have long-term problems, but they seem fine. So Tacticam and Moultrie are top of the list for me for trail cameras. Again, I love the cell camera aspect of it. I'm an addict for the deer pictures, so I love the fact that they send right to my phone. I'd like to get rid of my smartphone and go back to a Nokia flip phone, or even one of those Nokia phones that you can play Snake on. So that'll be tricky if I ever do that, because I won't be able to get that luxury of having deer pictures sent right to my phone. But oh well, going back in time. Next, lodging. So we will drive. I will take my travel trailer for the entire month of October and November and park it at a campground down in Southeast Michigan, and we'll leave it there for the duration of the season. That way, in my opinion, I save money on gas. However, I spend a lot of money on the campsite, so I'm not really sure if it's a wash or not. It's probably pretty close, but we leave it there. We drive to and from. We bring a grill down there. Everybody tries to pitch in and bring food, and we eat pretty damn good. We will almost always have venison tacos. We'll have some backstraps with some sauteed potatoes and onions and peppers over the fire. And my brother's a personal chef, so he cooks really well. And Uncle Head up north, Adam, is a really great cook as well. And he usually prepares some sort of he brought down a sous vide for a couple years and sous vide some venison roasts and pork and stuff like that. And then we usually eat pretty good, but we also like to go out to dinner down there and sit in the warm restaurant instead of sitting around a cold campfire, and a little bit of both. But, I think that's important to us as well, is that full experience. We're not camping on on the spot, where we hunt, but we sort of stay within 15 minutes and then drive to and from for the morning sits and the afternoon sits. And that's kind of what we do. I love it. I have thought about when I do out of state hunts, like getting a camper or not a camper, but a cap for the back of my truck and, kind of retrofitting the back to sleep in. I know they sell tents that go up in the back of your truck. Not there yet. Not quite there yet. But I am thinking about that cap that I can kind of snuggle up in the evenings and then not have to pay for lodging. But we'll see. We'll see if I ever get there. I do plan to do a lot more out-of-state hunting for the rest of my life. I love that adventure, and I don't ever want that to go away. So whatever I have to do to continue that thrill for me, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Again, find what fits in your budget and make it work. If it's the tent, it's the tent. If it's the cap, then do something to your vehicle to make it a real adventure. I know there's a lot of options out there, but again, find what works for you and your budget and make it happen. As far as moving on to the next subject, clothing, gear, camo. I bought everything from Dunham's. I have never indulged ever, not one time, not never, no way, never, no how. I cannot, for the life of me, bring myself to pull the trigger on like Sitka gear and $300 shirts or jackets and pants and $1,000 on clothes. I cannot bring myself to do it. I'm seriously considering buying something more middle of the road, middle high, middle upper this year, for the water and windproof aspect of it. Again, I've historically just bought all my stuff very affordably from Dunham's, which is a local sporting goods store here in Michigan. This year, however, I want it to be less bulky. Not bulky Bartakamus from Perfect Strangers, bulky as in thick and girthy in the tree, especially considering I was so mobile this year. I didn't want to have that big bulky jacket or to lug a bunch of stuff through the woods and then put it on when I got there. So I took the approach of trying to find some neutral colors or earth tones like tans, browns, greens, grays or grayish, heather olive, whatever, just stuff like that this year. And then, purchasing stuff in just regular clothing. So sweatshirts, flannels, insulated flannels, fleece-lined pants. And I really enjoyed it. I have no beef about it at all, except to say that it was a very dry season for me. And should it become a wet hunting season like the 21 season, I don't think I would have been as comfortable in that clothing, camo, whatever. So I stuck with a Wrangler ATG, which is a synthetic pant for early season, which you can buy that at, again, Dunham's. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy them at Tractor Supply sometimes. Again, a synthetic pant, so it's lightweight. You don't get too hot when you're hiking in or out. And then for the colder months, so like late October all the way through November, even early December, I was able to find some fleece-lined Wrangler ATG synthetic pants, and coupled with some merino wool base layers, I was never cold. And typically my legs don't get cold anyway. It's usually my upper body, my hands and my toes. But I'm a huge proponent for those Wrangler ATG fleece-lined pants. Again, you can buy them in very neutral tones anywhere, especially Amazon. I think they're very comfortable. They're moderately durable. They will get torn up in the buckthorn and the brambles, but I mean, for the price, I would rather buy 4 pairs of those and then instead of 1 pair of, Sitkas or First Lights or whatever. But I'm not knocking anybody that does. That's just me. I found that I wore a hoodie more than anything this year. Again, I think it was a pretty tolerable temperature-wise hunting season, not very wet. I found myself with my merino wool base layer and a hoodie. If I needed another layer, I would put on something synthetic, something breathable. It's like almost like a second base layer, and then my hoodie. I bought a vest. I didn't wear it that much. I'm in the market for a heated vest, but again, it's one of those situations where it's like, I don't know, do I need a heated vest? So I find myself putting it in the cart, the online shopping cart, and then taking it out. I bought heated socks this year. The number one thing to get me out of the tree is cold toes. I don't care how expensive my boots are. If my fucking toes get cold, I'm done. Or I'm miserable or I'm fidgety. So I bought some heated socks. They were like $70 on Amazon. Nothing top of the line. USB charging batteries. There's a little cargo pocket in them. And you just slide that little battery pack in there. And if you put it on low, it'll last all day. And it just takes the edge off. Like, it doesn't make them hot, but it takes the edge off. And I would suggest, walking to the tree in a regular pair of socks, and then either at the base of the tree putting on your electric socks, your heated socks, or when you get up in the tree. My stand is so small that I don't want to be taking my boots off and swapping socks when I'm 15 feet in the air. So I did it at the base of the tree this year. I also bought some guide gear boots from Sportsman's Guide. Nothing, I think they're 800 gram Thinsulate. Nothing crazy, comfortable, waterproof. I also wore leather boots a lot this year. Like, I hunted a ton in Brunt workwear, like thin, uninsulated leather boots with a pair of wool socks, and that got me to the colder months. And then I had to go to the thicker boot. But I found that my rubber boots were giving me plantar fasciitis. Yes, I'm 41 and 7/8, and I am discussing plantar fasciitis on a hunting podcast. But an oversized boot with a thin sock and your foot moving around in there, you're adjusting the natural pronation of your foot. And so you're holding your boot in place instead of walking naturally. And it screws your whole body up. It screws your entire gait up. It messes your legs, your back, your hips. Everything gets screwed up. And I was suffering with plantar fasciitis, which is such an old man thing to say. So boots that you can tie so that your feet can move naturally over the ground is critical for me. And if you're suffering from that foot pain, then you might want to think about that. My brother was, and he had to get some boots as well. So again, nothing to break the bank. I waited till like Christmas sales on Sportsman's Guide and bought some boots. Moving on to the next topic, scent control. I am one of the people who bought that kit from Dunham's off the shelf, a scent away kit. Had laundry detergent, field spray, armpit perfume, all that good stuff. I don't do that anymore. I buy a brand new loofah in the beginning of beginning of hunting season, and I buy Dr. Bronner's concentrated baby soap from a vitamin store. So here for me, it's Vitamin Shop. You could probably do it at GNC. You can also buy it on Amazon, and then you just dilute it in an old spray bottle or whatever, a squirt bottle, and that'll last you an entire season. My whole family uses scent-free, hypoallergenic laundry detergent anyway, so that was never an issue. I just wash my hunting stuff together, not with other clothing, and then I will check the dryer. I'll check the dryer before I put the clothes in there. Make sure that the lint screen is clean. And if the dryer smells like, let's say, the kitchen towels, so let's say it smells a little greasy, I will wipe down the dryer. I will hand wipe down the dryer with some white distilled vinegar to neutralize any odor-causing things that are in there. And then I will just throw my shit, all my hunting stuff together, throw it right in the friggin' dryer and dry it. And I don't go through the whole process of like airing it outside. I don't wash it outside. I did, but I don't anymore. I used to cover all my hunting shit with activated charcoal powder. I don't do that anymore. I hunt the wind. I keep my shit clean. I don't use color enhancers. I use natural smells as far as my deodorant is concerned. Last year, I went no deodorant all season, and that was unpleasant. As far as my armpits were concerned, it was very unpleasant. So I bought a Dr. Squatch. I subscribe, and I get every quarter they send me deodorant. It smells like pine trees, and all is well. Again, you hunt the wind. You keep your shit moderately clean. You don't smoke with your stuff on. You don't go out to dinner with your stuff on. You don't go to a diner and eat an omelet with sausage gravy on it. You're fine. Just be mindful of what you're doing and take all of that stuff into consideration. And you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on scent control. The ozonics, just fuck it, man. Just be smart about what you're doing and everything will be fine. Moving along to, you know what else I do is I do keep my, once everything's dry, I have 4 or 5 scent lock bags that I will put, the different seasonal clothings in, where you can like squeeze out the oxygen and then fold them over and clip them, and then they stay just kind of together where they're not marinating in a bunch of other smells. So like if you keep your stuff in a toter, a big plastic Tupperware toter, in the garage or whatever, you don't have to worry about fumes and if they're in those bags. So that's another thing that I do is I have about 2 or 3 toters. I put everything in those scent lock bags, squeeze the oxygen out, set them in there, and just, sort of move them around as needed. I also keep my foam pad seats in there. So every permanent set that I have that needs a seat, I keep those in there. Anything that I'm going to take into the woods, I keep in the toter so that it doesn't get, covered, marinated in weird smells that are unnatural. So moving along to my filming gear, I've tried lots of different things. I bought cheap and didn't love it. So this year I upgraded, and it's something that you really have to try the affordable way and see if it's okay with you. And if it is, great. I found that I didn't like it. It was cumbersome to me. Being mobile, I wanted to scale back on the weight and the bulk, and I bought a Lone Wolf Custom Gear pocket arm this year. And I also have the Ulanzi STO6S phone mount for when I tried to do just my phone, which screws right on top of the pocket arm. And my brother likes to use his phone to record, so he has one of those as well. I also have a small rig selection CH10, but I modified the control arm on it. So I bought a piece of aluminum rod from the local hardware store, cut it down, covered it in stealth tape, and drilled a couple holes and reattached it, added a new foam, little handle on it. And also using I realized that my phone is great. Like, it takes great film, or it takes great video, but I was turning it off so that my film didn't get interrupted while I was hunting. And then my wife had an emergency one day and needed me, and I didn't get that information for several hours after she was already at the hospital. So that's a huge problem, and can't do that anymore. I promised her I would no longer use my phone. I mean, I suppose I could buy somebody's used iPhone or whatever and record. Again, the new phones take great video, and they're super light and compact, and you don't have to buy $1,000 camcorder. You really don't. You can buy a $500 used phone, and it'll take just as good of film as anything else. You lose a little bit of quality on the zoom, but whatever. Most people aren't. We're not all Steven Spielbergs of the woods here, so it'll be fine. However, that being said, I did buy a really nice camcorder a couple years ago, and it is a Canon Vixia HFG50. Not meant for lefties. That's my one beef. Camcorders are not built for fucking left-handed people. The way that the little window opens up, the viewing screen opens up, is for people who are right-handed. And I am now a left-handed hunter, and so I operate the camera and the camera arm with my left hand because I'm holding my bow with my right hand, and the screen is on the opposite side, so it's hard to see. I bought a supplemental screen, but it's heavy as a motherfucker, so I didn't use it at all this year. I just dealt with it. Now, the one thing I will say about this camera, it takes great, fantastic video. It was $1,000. It better, right? It better fucking take incredible video for $1,000. But the screen to view on has a glare problem. And so inevitably, I've got that thing open, and I can't see what the hell I'm looking at, because there's a friggin' glare on that screen. So, I mean, if there's anybody that has a problem with that, I think an alternative would be like a DSLR camera, which I had a hard time pulling the trigger on. I think you can adjust that little viewing screen on that a little bit better. You can just deal with the extra weight involved with a supplemental screen on the top. Like if you got if you got a cold shoe for your camera, and you just put that supplemental screen and its battery on top of it, I mean, you might be able to see better that way. I just struggled through the camera situation this year, and I mean, I got stuff on film. That fucking glare situation pisses me off, and I avoided that extra weight in the supplemental screen. But I love filming my hunts, and it's something that I will probably do forever. I love to be able to relive things. I love being able to put together film. I loved learning how to edit videos this year. I just love the whole process of it. So regardless of my struggles, don't get it twisted, sucker. I'm still going to continue to do it. Moving along, stands and permanent stands. We have, I don't know, 15 amongst a couple properties that we hunt. There's probably 10, 15 permanent sets. They're old. Really old ladders, questionable ladders, not ladders, but steps, like climbing sticks. Probably half of them need to be replaced. There's a lot of rust going on, and I'm not a dainty fella. My brother's not a dainty fella, so some of them are questionable. Who knows what they are? They've been collected over the last 25 years, probably. Some of them need new cables. Some of them need to be thrown away. Some of them are covered in pine sap. Some of them are. I don't even want to move them because they're absolutely perfect. They're in kill trees and they produce year after year after year after year. I don't even want to touch them. We just update, we upgrade the straps. I went super mobile a couple years ago. I got a saddle for my 40th birthday, I think. And it is a Latitude Method Classic single panel. It's got the leg straps, but I didn't use them this year. It's got the metal clip in the front, which is fine. I don't care about that. It's never an issue to me. I never think, man, this saddle would be so great if it didn't have a metal clip in the front. I do have the original ropes, which I'm upgrading this year. I have a single dump pouch on it, which I stage my ropes in gear strap in. I have a Genesis 3D printed gear hanger. I also have a Latitude gear strap that I kind of toggle between. It depends on where I'm at and what I'm doing and which one is easiest for me to access. So they're both equally fine in my book. I would like to upgrade the bow hanger for the Genesis 3D printed one, and I know they have a better printed bow hanger available. I just have to pick it up. I know BK Outdoors also sells a really great one called the Jawbone, I believe, and I may pick that one up. I'm not sure, but yeah. So I love my saddle. I used it probably 98% of the time this year, not just as a saddle, but also as a safety harness. So if I took my mobile hang-on stand out, I would wear my saddle because I could use the lineman's rope as I put up my sticks in my stand. And then once I was in my tree stand, I just used my saddle to occasionally stand and hunt. Like I could use my hang-on as a hybrid saddle platform and or sit down and enjoy sitting, taking some pressure off of my old ass knees. So again, I use my saddle 98% of the year. If I hunted a permanent set, sometimes I would put my full Summit safety harness on. Sometimes I would just wear my saddle even there, so I could have the option to stand if I wanted to safely using my tether, and sometimes I would sit. I think that's a nice option. I do think it's probably not as safe because I could tip over ass over tea kettle and die. But that hasn't happened. So I am mostly safe when I hunt, and it could always be better. But for the most part, I think it's a relatively safe option. I've never, ever, ever, ever been concerned that I was going to walk off the front of my platform. If I'm standing up, the most movement I do is rotate. I never take steps. I know my brother was really worried about walking off the end of his tree stand, but it's never, ever have I thought, whoa, that was a close one. I have been standing there and my shoulder slipped off the tree, but I've never almost walked off my stand, which blows my mind. As far as my mobile setup, like I said, I have the Latitude saddle. I also have the Lone Wolf Custom Gear Fix platform. which I use the strap that came with it. I tried to shave some weight by using a Amsteel product, but it just couldn't. I didn't feel as good about it, so I went back to the strap. I have two 20-inch Lone Wolf Custom Gear compact single steps that I use with my saddle platform. And I also have a Lone Wolf Custom Gear 0.5 hang-on stand with three 20-inch double steps. And two of those have a single 20-inch step aider. So I mostly hunted out of that last year. And I almost never used the 3 sticks. Like I could get plenty high with 2 sticks and hanging my stand, like just having my, I think you're probably supposed to have that top step be equal to the platform of your stand, but let's just be real. Not everybody's doing that. And I would just take another big step off the top of my top double step and get into my stand, and everything was fine. And I could get 12 to 16 feet off the ground, depending upon where I was at and how limber I was. If I had done my calisthenics that morning and was stretched out really nice, if my clothing wasn't too bulky, I could get up pretty high with 2 20-inch doubles, aiders, and then a really long top step and feel really good about everything. So for me, that's my mobile setup. I loved it. I don't find, like I'm 6 foot 220, 6 foot 2. Okay. 5'11" and 7/8, 223 is what I'm at right now. And I have been for a long time. I am probably, in my opinion, maxed out on the 0.5. Like if I was even a little bit longer in the Legaronis, I would do the 0.75. I do have the taller seat post, which I think is helpful. I have the Sidekick bow holder, which I think is great. I probably, to do it all over again, would have got the extended one, but I'm not going to buy the extended one. I'm just going to continue to use the Sidekick and be fine with it. I also have an XOP Vanish with a Genesis 3D printed turret bow holder on that one. But we pretty much hung that as a permanent set last year. I also ordered the Latitude brand new carbon stealth, the Speed Series like climbing sticks this year. And I'm fucking so excited to get those, to either swap out for my 20-inch doubles and use myself, or give to my brother to use with the XOP stand so he can be mobile this year. But I'm not sure. I can't wait. I know I'm not going to get them for a while, but I'm really fucking excited to use those. Again, I used my saddle harness most of the time this year for safety reasons. With my set while I saddle hunted, and also with my 0.5 setup. So that's my mobile setup. The only beef I had this year was I would occasionally find myself needing a little bit longer. Oh, and I upgraded the straps on my steps to my climbing sticks to Amsteel products, the USA Pro from the Amsteel guy. Phenomenal product. I'll never go back, but occasionally I'd find myself this year hoping or wishing I had like another 1 or 2 foot of Amsteel to get around some sort of bigger trees that I found myself in, specifically in Kansas. I actually had to take and like combo up a strap and the Amsteel to get around a tree on my last sit to try and get on a buck. And it worked. It just wasn't ideal. So moving along to my bow, what am I shooting? So many of you know that I had an eye injury 2 years ago. I had a piece of wood hit me in my right eye, which was my historically dominant eye. And that piece of wood caused extensive damage. And I can see out of that eye now. It's a little bit better than it has been in a long time, but I am now left eye dominant. So 2 years ago, I decided I would just hunt with my crossbow. No, couldn't do it. So into the season already, I was like, I need a left-handed bow. Sold some crypto. So dumb to say. I sold some crypto and bought a left-handed, bare, legit, ready to hunt package. And I did it because it was under $500. It was available, and it was ready to hunt. So in my brain, I didn't need to do anything. Well, I really struggled that year. I shot it in the yard thinking I'd get fine, but the fact of the matter is I needed new strings. I needed a new drop away rest, which I now have a QAD drop away rest on it. I got the new strings put on, America's Best Bow Strings. I got that put on. I had it tuned at Sunrise Archery in Fenton. I shot I hunted all that season and really struggled. Anyway, I'm left-handed now. Fucking A, I'm left-handed. So, bear legit, left-handed. It's like a 29-inch draw. It's maxed out. It's like 70 pounds draw weight. So all 21 and going into 22, I shot. Got really confident left-handed. I feel great. I don't care that I'm left-handed now. I feel totally fine. I feel very natural. That blows people's mind, but I feel very natural being a lefty. So I shoot a bear legit, left-handed, brand new strings, QAD drop away rest. But I was struggling with punching my wrist release. I was punching it bad. And I don't know if it's because I switched arms or hands or whatever, and I never really got that muscle memory. But I was finding that I was really reaching for that trigger. And no matter how much I adjusted my wrist release so that I didn't have to reach, I could literally just lay my finger on the trigger and pull it back, I was still having a hard time. So I bought a cheap, as far as price is concerned, I bought a cheap thumb release from Amazon made by Noxdyn. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Noxdyn. And that fixed my problem. I later struggled with some muscle memory things on that, but I have since fixed that. And I also bought a second one because there was a point this year where I knocked it off my D-loop while in the stand and had to scramble to put my wrist release on, my backup wrist release on. So I have two of them. I have one that I shoot regularly and one backup that I keep in my backpack. Speaking of backpacks, I bought the XOP Striker this year, and it's a wonderful pack for most of the season. And then I also used a Trophy Line CAYS 2 for late season when I was having to hump around some extra clothing when it got really cold. As far as arrows are concerned, historically, I spent good money on arrows. I would buy Carbon Express Maxima Reds. I would have them cut down just right. And I really enjoyed shooting them, but for some reason, I could not shoot them on this bow. Like they were all over the fucking place. I couldn't tune it. I couldn't group them. They were a fucking mess. And I knew I was going to do some out-of-state hunting. Excuse me. So I bit the bullet, and I bought some formerly known as Vector arrows, now Method Archery. I bought a dozen Vector archery arrows, and they're really cool. Their website's really great, and it still is today, even though they switched brands, switched their name. You go to their website, you plug in all of the specs on your bow, and excuse me, and they will create. It will regurgitate specs for a custom arrow build for you, and then you click submit, and they custom build your arrows and ship them right to your door. And as soon as I got them, those sons of bitches fly like a dream. And yes, I spent a little money on them, and yes, they're heavy, and yes, I had to readjust my sights, and yes, my arrow flies slower, but they fly fucking dead nuts. They're so wonderful. I'm so happy that I bought those arrows. I will continue to shoot those arrows for as long as I possibly can. I love them. I just ordered another dozen because they changed their specs for this year, and I knew I needed more arrows, so I just ordered another dozen from now Method Archery. Same process, lighter arrow, so I will have to readjust my sights again for hopefully a faster shooting arrow with the same high quality. So I'm really excited to get those, but I love my Vector Method Archery arrows. Again, there's nothing wrong with Carbon Express. Lots of people shoot those Carbon Express Maxima Reds. I just couldn't shoot them left-handed. I shot them right-handed, and they shot true. It's just this bow. I just could not get it tuned to shoot those arrows well enough to feel confident. Moving along to broadheads, I made the switch a couple years ago to mechanical broadheads, and I don't know why. I really don't know why. I was shooting Montec G5 fixed blade broadheads, 100 grain, and I don't think I really had an issue with them. I just wanted to shoot some mechanicals. I wanted to reduce the friction in the air by getting a more streamlined process or a more streamlined product on my arrow. And so I switched to Sever, SEVR. I shoot a Sever titanium 2.0 mechanical broadhead and absolutely fucking love them. 100 grain mechanical broadhead, 2-inch diameter cut, flies exactly like a field point. It comes with an additional pair of additional set screws, so you can lock those blades in place when you're target practicing. So you can actually shoot your mechanical broadhead into a foam target without fear of ruining it. And again, they fly so absolutely fucking true to a field point. I don't see myself ever changing. So I am all horned up about the Method Archery heavier arrow, and all horned up about those Sever titanium 2.0 mechanical broadheads. I absolutely love them. I will go to war with anybody who has anything bad to say about them. They fly true. They destroy the animal. Absolutely break rib. I mean, I know the heavier FOC on my arrows is really cracking ribs, but huge blood trails, giant gaping wounds. And they definitely do the trick. I absolutely have nothing but fantastic things to say about both the arrow setup as well as that broadhead. And I'm a fan. As far as I can tell, I'm a fan for life. I don't have any reason to switch. Wrapping it up, the last two things. You know what I forgot to discuss because I wrote it in a funnier spot. Supplemental light on my site. Local gentleman Ben Cooper sells a product called Illumipin. It is a supplemental aftermarket light that you put on your bow and screw into your sight, and really long battery life, extra adjustable dial light intensity for low light versus medium low light versus no light. I think I only had to change the batteries once last year, and I hunted my balls off last year. Like, I hunted a ton. I typically turn the Illumipin on the lowest setting 10 minutes before legal shooting light, and then I usually turn it off by 8:30, depending upon cloud cover. So, an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning, and then in the evenings, I would usually turn it on an hour before last light. And then obviously once it's last light, I turn it off. So 3 hours a day, probably 40 hunts. And I only changed the batteries once. And I think it's because I left it on one time. But anyway, it is a supplemental box that you have to strap to your bow. And as hard as I could strap it to my bow, it was still making some noise. So I covered the battery compartment, the box, the control box, in stealth tape. And that helped tremendously. And I just bought some backup batteries from the store and kept them with me all season in my vehicle. And again, I only changed the batteries one time, and that was shooting all summer with it in low light conditions, and most of the season until I had to change my battery. So anyway, Illumipin, and I also shot nocturnal green lighted Nox this year. Previously, I felt like my right eye saw red light better. And now that I'm left eye, I felt like I could see green better, which is, I don't know if that's a weird thing between my eyes, but I felt like previously red was a better light for me, but now it's green. So I bought these nice green nocturnal lighted Nox. Again, they're more upper end. It's like $10 a piece, but they're great. They're reusable. They are so bright, and I love them. Again, they fit that more narrow diameter arrow that I'm shooting now as well. Again, last two topics for me for the gear episode 3, the gear talk. My gutting knife, I got a Oh my God. Oh, I got a buck knife. It's made by Buck. It's a buck knife. I got it as a groomsman gift for Uncle Hed's wedding, Mr. Up North Adam. He gave it to me as a thank you for being in his wedding. And I've had to sharpen it like 2 times, but it's a fantastic gutting knife. I don't know what it retails for, but I think it's very, very, very heavy duty. Again, it's a great cutting surface. It's got that top sharp pulling spot on it. I don't know what the hell it's called, but once I poke through under the sternum, you can flip the knife over and just drag down to the crotch instead of having to worry about cutting the gut bag open. That is such a lovely development over the last 25 years since I started hunting. So again, I primarily use that. I also have a backup kit, just a generic carving, field dressing kit that I bought on Amazon, just to keep as a backup in my truck. There's a theme here: backup, backup, backup. Like, there's nothing worse. Like, everybody has so much shit going on during the season. You got families, you got kids, you got vehicles. You're riding with your buddy. You got this. You're going here. You're going there. You're taking all your stuff out to put in the barn, and then you got to get back in the truck and go to work, and then you got to put all your hunting shit back in your truck, and sometimes we forget things. One of the biggest suggestions I can make is buy like a little tackle box and just put all your backup shit in there and just keep it in your vehicle. Or if you have a nice big middle console, just put your backup stuff in there and then walk, and then no matter what, if you show up to the field and you're like, fuck, I forgot my headlamp. That's another thing. Headlamps. Buy 2 of them. Who cares? Buy 2 USB rechargeable headlamps, put one in your truck, put one in your backpack. You'll always have a backup. There's nothing worse than getting out to walk to the stand in the dark and you're like, fuck, I forgot my headlamp, or I forgot to charge it, or oh, shit skis, I left my thumb release on the table in the barn, or oh, poop, I left my socks here or there, and you have an extra, or crapola, I left my carving knife, I washed it and I set it on the mantle to dry, and now I don't have anything to cut this massive buck up with. So anyway, just get a couple backups of everything. And finally, once you harvest that buck and you do your own Euro mount, because why pay someone to do a Euro mount when you can do it yourself? No offense. You can do your own Euro mount. No offense to those of you who are professional taxidermists and you do Euro mounts, but you can boil your own skull in your backyard and clear coat it. And then I love the product called Rack Bracket, and it is nothing out of the ordinary. It's like steel rod that's bent, powder coated, and they put these little rubber grommets on the tips of the steel, and you can anchor it to the wall, and it's hinged, so it pivots, like not 180 degrees, but maybe like 120 degrees or 100 degrees, and fits right in the under the jaw, or under the palate, the top palate of the deer's skull, and not the eye socket, but whatever that socket is right behind the eyes. Someone was probably screaming, "It's the orbital bone hole." I don't fucking know. Whatever, dude. It's those 2 holes right behind the eye holes, and I love it. I buy if I'm doing a Euro for somebody else, I will buy them a Rack Bracket. I usually buy like 3 or 4 in the beginning of the year, and then just set them to the side. And if I use them, I use them. I've used them on deadheads. I found like a 13 or 14 point deadhead in Kansas this year, just doing some scouting, and I brought it home and had an extra Rack Bracket laying around, and I put it on that because it was such a cool find. So again, Rack Bracket for your Euro mounts. This is the first year I ever shot a buck that I decided to shoulder mount. So I've got 2 bucks this year that I dropped off. My Illinois buck and my Michigan gun buck. So I'm having my first shoulder mounts done, and I'm so friggin' excited to get those back. I can't even believe it. But anyway, if you made it all the way 50 minutes into this podcast, bless your sweet little heart. Bless your heart for sticking around and listening to me ramble about gear. I only rambled about my gear, but it was a very probably overly thorough rundown of what I use to hunt, and what I used to hunt last year, and what I'm happy with and what I'm not happy with. So anyway, thanks everybody if you've stuck around. I love you so much. Talk to you later.